right, here we are. And welcome to our talk with Kisma Riedling and
Lauren Small.
Lauren Small. Hi, everyone. It's so wonderful to be here with you. Today is June 1st. Can you believe we're already in June? And I'm telling you something, it's pretty amazing stuff we got going on here in California with regards to our weather. Our weather is just absolutely June gloom since the beginning of the year. So I don't know what it's all about. Do you know what it's all about, Lauren?
No, I have no idea. It's nice and sunny here in Montreal.
Yeah. So you're lucky. You probably can't see. Well, no, you can't see because I got a whiteboard behind me. All right, here we are. And I am going to introduce to everyone. Let me brag a minute. I'm going to brag a minute about a wonderful lady, and her name is Connie Solera. And Connie is a writer. She's an artist first and foremost, but I have to bring in that little plug for writing because, you know, as a writer, I really appreciate that she is uniting her writing and her artistry together also. She's a teacher and she's a mentor. For over 25 years, she has savored a career encouraging others, especially women, to live courageously from their artist souls. She has workshops and retreats and immersive mentorship programs that she has designed for deep thinking artists such as me. She's my mentor, if I haven't said that enough times on the webpage. But she's really supportive of artists who are soulful seekers and brave creatives, and they're ready to strengthen their connection to their intuition, trust the deeper currents of their creative practice, and make art that sizzles with confidence, depth, and meaning. She's also a wordsmith. Have I mentioned that? You can hear it in her bio that I am sharing with you right now. Anyways, to Connie. Connie, her creative practice that she treasures wildly connects her to deeper currents of life. And it helps her stay tethered to her own soul. So making art for Connie is a lifelong devotion. Each work plunges her further into the mystery, and each body of work that she explores expresses what it means to be fully and authentically alive, right here, right now. So the last thing I would like to share about Connie before we bring her into the studio is Connie is an incredible woman. Beyond being an awesome artist, an excellent writer, and an incredible mentor, she has the true soul of friendship. And her realness, when you engage with her and get to know her, just permeates your life. So without further ado, I am going to invite Connie Solera to come on in to the studio. And Connie, you're there. You are on Twitch TV. Hi, everyone.
It worked. It's awesome.
We are here live with a few minutes of technical difficulties. Welcome to the wonderful world of technology. When you want things to go well, sometimes they just don't. So you've watched an opening, and now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of Connie Solera. So here we go, Connie. So, you know, I'm going to lead off with a little question for you. And Connie, you know, you have this fabulous presence about you. All right. You just naturally exude this higher level of thinking. You really do. I know I have told you personally, you have a wisdom beyond all wisdom. I mean, you really go in deep. You're wise. You're wiser than your age. So it's as if you have just this natural link into just wonderful direction and guidance, which is why you're a mentor. Okay, which is why you're my mentor, because whenever I go to you for anything, you come right back with the right direction, the right guidance, the right words that make me go, okay, and put it into a new perspective. So your perception abilities are really wonderful. And where does that come from? I'm asking you, where does that come from?
Aisle 8 at Walmart. No, gosh, I think, I don't know. I think all of my life, I've just been kind of a deep, like, I remember being, like, I guess the beginning I can remember is I remember being in 3rd grade and having a notebook and keeping a journal and like thinking these thoughts and asking my parents like these big questions, like that I kind of look like for 2nd and 3rd grade. I was like, how do we know if we're awake or we're asleep? And how do we know the world's not going to stop turning? You know, like I've always been thinking and eager to understand the world, I guess, you know, so maybe that's kind of part of what you're picking up on. And then I think also maybe, gosh, it's making me all kind of nervous. Like, I guess too, like, I just always I think one of the things I've noticed now that I'm a bit older is, that kind of makes me a little bit different is I feel like I've made a lot of decisions in my life based on being an artist and like following my heart. And when people would tell me like, you can't do that or whatever, I would be like, the hell are they talking about? I'm going to do it. And I would just kind of carve a path and look at life a little bit differently. And so maybe that's what you're pointing to or picking up on a little bit, you know. I don't see it as like being wise beyond my years, because maybe
Oh,
just
but you are.
it's me, you know. I just think
You are totally wise
oddball.
beyond your years.
Maybe I could ask a question that sort of builds on what you just said, Connie. In your bio, you said that you dedicate your career to living courageously from your artist soul.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about that? I love that quote.
Oh, thanks, Lauren. Thank you. Well, my entire life, I've been really lucky because my entire life I have known I'm an artist, and I've really like just pursued my life as an artist and for what it meant in all the different stages of my life so far. So for example, like when I was really little, I knew I was an artist, and I was really lucky to have a family that supported it, even though nobody in my family was an artist. They were like, okay, you know, you don't really get it, but okay. And I took classes at the museum when I was really little that I was blessed to do. And I just always thought of myself as that. And so when I would move throughout my life, I always made decisions from my artist soul. Like what do I want to do as an artist? How do I see the life as an artist? And so for me, being an artist is way more than just making things. It's about living a life really true to what calls you inside, what lights you up, what makes you feel, you know, full of joy and passion and love. Like that's basically how I've lived my life, and basically how I mentor others to like, what do you love? What do you care about? What, you know, and then to also really honor that, you know, being, you know, that I feel it's an honor to be called. I've always felt this, even when I was younger, that it's an honor to be called to be an artist. And our society and culture has a lot of wounds around that, and a lot of like stuff they tell people, you know, you can't do this or that. And I was always like, think so, I'm gonna do it. And so I try to encourage other artists, mostly women artists that I work with, to believe and trust in themselves and to follow that guidance, and that you can, make your own path. You can choose your own way of showing up in the world as an artist.
Right.
And making stuff is a part of it, but it's only like one facet of it.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt because I'm going to give you all an example of just how wise Connie is. In a moment, I'm going to share my desktop so that you can see. These are her Paint the Feminine cards. And
They're actually paint wisdom cards.
Paint Wisdom cards. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so used to saying Paint the Feminine. But look,
It's in a Paint the Feminine bag. Yeah, it's good.
it is in the, yes, that's exactly right. And what a nifty little bag this is.
Tanya Jenny made those bags.
Oh.
She's awesome. She lives.
They're so adorable. All right, here, let me show you the back side of these cards. This is one of Connie's incredible paintings. And in just a minute, I'm gonna show you her webpage, and we're gonna go to the page for her cards and her book, because I want to help promote that. But I'm gonna tell me when to stop. Someone tell me when to stop.
Lauren, you tell her.
Stop.
Stop. Okay, here we go. So this is for today. This is for all of us here. And so you can see each card has a nice guidance. This is Connie in mentorship mode to the umpteenth. Harmony. I have to take off my glasses. Harmony in a painting is felt when different energies work cohesively to create a sense of wholeness. Many times the area we try to beat into perfection are exactly the parts of the painting that give the piece its panache. Instead of trying to fix, step back from the painting and identify the part your mind thinks is less than perfect. If this part of the painting was a sound, what sound would it make? Would it have a rhythm to it or a distinct pitch? Look at other areas of the painting and ask yourself the same thing. Now, notice what type of harmony are the elements of your painting creating. So these cards were created off of her own wisdom and guidance in her painting classes, as well as in her mentoring. So what I'm going to do is I am going to share my desktop. We are going to go visit Connie's website. And I want to point out two really cool things. And Connie, you just jump right in whenever you want. Here we go. This is Connie Solera, Nourish Your Artist Soul. I hope everyone can see that.
Thank you.
And right there she is, smiling sweetly with her paintbrushes. Connie will always give you a smile. Okay.
I love
Now,
the green Google Chrome stuff you got going on. That's a beautiful color.
isn't it beautiful? Yeah. So, here's some of the stuff she's been doing in 2023, sketch and her Paint Fearless Sedona retreats, which I've done that. And let me tell you, that's awesome. And then I believe the Paint Fearless Mexico is now being retired, correct?
No, kind of.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to offer a different Mexico.
Okay, very cool. Well, we're
I'm
going to come.
switching it up. I'm switching.
Okay.
I realize I can't let Oaxaca go yet. I just need to switch.
Okay, good. We'll come right back to that after I show your cards. Let me show your cards first. Paint Wisdom cards. This is what I was talking about. Now I'm going to tell you, Connie sells her work only once a year, and you are going to have the opportunity to pre-order. And guess what? Pre-ordering is
Not for the cards.
not for the cards.
Not for the cards. The cards are actually going to be pre-order on the solstice.
On the solstice. Okay.
Pre-ordered next week. June is the Painting the Feminine book. So just ignore it.
Okay. Let's go to the book, because the book, let me tell you about this book real quick. And Connie, I'm sure, is going to have something to share about it too. This woman put all of her beautiful work from her Painting the Feminine workshops and classes, e-courses and Zoom courses that she did for how many years? 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
8 years.
8 years. And she did most of her work in a book. And then she took this incredible book and she published it. she published it and she gave it to her community. Well, it was offered as this phenomenal, really, truly a gift, Connie, because we got to receive through pre-ordering the book,
Oh.
which you'll have the opportunity for 1 week to pre-order it next Monday through Friday. But this book, I'm telling you, the way Connie set this up is that this book is packed full of her beautiful stuff. And I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and I'm going to come back because I'm going to hold up the real thing. I'm holding up the real deal because right here it is. And I'm gonna make me big. I'm gonna make me big. So let me go into that for a minute because I'm gonna tell you why this is the most unique book. And you did this before anybody else did this, by the way. I'm just sharing it. But this book, Painting the Feminine, an art journal. That's right. She calls it an art journal. It's filled with Connie Solera work, and I'm going to lose when I open it wide. Some of the pictures may go out, but I apologize for that. It's this white screen. I don't know how to do these green screen thingies. Oh, yeah, there we go. And every page is beautiful.
Oh.
It's a journey, a visual journey to go into her. But here's the uniqueness about this book. Connie gives it, and she says, collaborate with me. Now you paint on top of it. And that's exactly what we did. We started painting on top,
Oh, yay!
you know,
Sweet.
and she even, I'm just showing you peeks. Here's a
Right.
look I did.
Oh, I love that.
This is to the mentorship circle.
Love it. Love it.
And I'm bringing us all back. And the cool thing about it is that she wants you, right, Connie?
Mhm.
You want us to collaborate with you, to go into your spreads and then bring out some of your own creativity. And
Can I show you? So I just want to.
yes, please do. And I'm going to
Oh.
highlight Connie as soon as she.
I'm not going to show this completely until next week, but in that Painting the Feminine book, there's a foreword by Patricia Mosca. And
Oh, yes.
Patricia actually took my Painting the Feminine class every time I offered it. And so
Yes.
I asked her to write the foreword because it was like me and her doing it together since the beginning. And she just sent me, this is hers that she bought, and she painted the entire thing.
Yeah, she went to town on it. I
She
know.
did the whole thing. It's
Uh-huh.
amazing. And I'm not going to share it till next week when it's, but like, oh my God, it's so exciting to see that somebody, like, I love seeing like you and so many artists taking my book and painting in it. And it's because this is the original. It's all in pieces because we had to shoot photos for the book, but I actually painted inside this book. And this was this really kind of book somebody gave me, and then I painted inside it the entire time. And that's why I wanted to create a book that others could then create on top of mine as a way of us collaborating. And to me, it's like thrilling.
Oh, it is. And I'm going to share with you how I collaborated with you and Patricia on
Oh,
her page.
oh,
This-
I hope Patricia sees that.
This is Patricia's, and I came in and I painted in the same style as hers to weave into the collaboration. So this is the forward right there. Those are her lovely words that I painted over.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it.
See, we all dive in and then it becomes these unique books.
Yeah.
These unique books. Okay, Lauren, did you have a question for her?
I did have a question, all of this talk about all the wonderful things that you do and the people that you inspire, Connie, like Kisma. And I'm just wondering is like, what are some of the things that inspire you or some of the people that inspire you?
Oh, that's such a good question. Well, I know it's gonna sound a little cheesy, but I feel like life in general is inspiring. I feel really blessed every day to get up, and in the last 2 years ago, my husband and I bought our first house, and basically the entire house is a studio. So I wake up every day and get to make art and hang out with really amazing people like Kisma and yourself, for instance. And I just came back from Sedona, where last week I was there hosting my Paint Fearless retreat with a group of such soulful, amazing women. And it was so fun. We laughed so hard. And like, I just feel lucky and grateful to be healthy, to live the life I have, to be surrounded by people that are deep thinkers and interested in the same thing as me and are growing, and I love that. My husband and my son are a huge inspiration in my life. I love them to pieces, and my husband's also an artist, and he's really creative and does amazing stuff. He's turning our whole backyard into an urban farm, and it's all from upcycled materials, and it's so cool to see happen. And I feel also like just generally art and staying focused on things that bring me life force and joy, and that's what I think. And I love to go outside. I love to stay active if I can, and things like that.
Yeah.
I think, Connie, one of the great things that I picked up on you as a woman, as an artist, as a creative, is that you, right from the beginning, make it known that life and nature, the outdoors, is vitally important and impactful. I'm gonna share just a tiny little story. Here, when I went to the Sedona retreat, which was right out of lockdown, right?
First one,
Right.
remember how scared I was? I was like, I don't know what to do.
I know, we were also like, are we gonna wear masks or are we not? And everybody came in and we all went,
Yeah.
the family.
Yeah.
We just bonded as family. But one of the and there was a lot of outdoor activity in Sedona, which is awesome to do because it fuels your inspiration every time you go into the studio, which we spent a lot of time in the studio creating too, which was lovely. But one evening, I got to share this. I got to brag about this. One evening, Carolyn, another person, and I were hanging out. We'd gone to the bathroom. We were like deciding, are we going to go eat dinner? What are we going to do? And everybody else had left. And Connie comes waltzing out of the studio, and she comes up to us. She goes, what are you both doing? We said, well, not much. She goes, come and get in my car. Bring your sketchbooks. And we drove out to this area where the three of us sat down on lawn chairs that Connie already has in her car. And we sketched together until the light went down and we were in shadow. And that was the highlight. That was the creme de la creme of the Sedona retreat for me. And after that, we hopped back in the car and we went and had dinner in a Mexican food restaurant, which is my favorite Mexican food. And we had margaritas and we hung out and we had a great we chewed the yarn, right? We had fun. But that right there was really, it showed me how real you are, that you are a real person. Because I think sometimes, we distance ourselves a lot from people who are teachers, right? Who have offerings like this, but you showed me just how real you were. Connie, I'm going to segue into a question about you and your online presence, because you have been online since 2008. You're in my opinion, one of the first to really start a solid presence here. In fact, I've noticed you don't seem to advertise your offerings. Okay. I mean, you're not throwing a bunch of Facebook advertisements out there. Instagram, you don't like inundate it with a bunch of, it just seems to me that you have developed this incredible reputation by word of mouth. And also you have women gravitate to you who really, they're already creatives in their heart. They're already doing something in their life and they find their way to you. And you have this lovely, lovely community of women that you have pulled into you. And these women are, I mean, like Patricia's an example, you know, they come to you and then they're there every single time you offer something that feeds their soul. They don't just come and then leave and they're gone, you know. And it seems to me that this is the community. You let your community members, which I feel honored to be a member in your community, you let us know, hey, this is what's coming on. This is what's coming on. You want to get involved in it? Great. And you send us out an email reminder and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You put it in our hands and then you let go of it and you continue your merry way. And that to me is just a fascinating process. So my question to you, would you like to share about your community, how it began for you, how it has expanded or how you notice it has expanded? Where did it all begin?
Well, in 2006, my husband, who wasn't my husband at the time, but he is now, and we lived in Cleveland, Ohio, and decided to move to Arizona. And we sold everything and like drove a car, a real rickety car across the country with 2 cats, a dog, a couple bikes, and some art supplies, basically. And we moved from Cleveland to Phoenix, Arizona. And actually, we really wanted to move to Sedona, but our chances of getting a job were a lot slimmer there. So we thought, okay, we'll move to Phoenix. And we came to Phoenix, we didn't know anybody. And the first thing, I actually got a job teaching art full-time in a elementary middle school. And, and I also, which is really kind of funny for me to think sometimes, I got a pottery studio and in a co-op. And so I was in this beautiful co-op pottery studio out in the desert. And when I lived in Cleveland, I did painting and I also did pottery. But it's funny because in Cleveland, nobody gave a damn about my pottery. And for some reason, I felt moved to do pottery when I came here in the desert. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of pottery in the Southwest. And so I started doing it. And for some reason, it just took off. Like people here liked my pottery. Cleveland, nobody cared. And so I was teaching full time and I was doing pottery. Like I go from school, working in public school, to being almost all night in a pottery studio. And in my weekends, I was at fairs and stuff, and I burned myself out. Like I just burned myself out that I didn't want to do anymore. I was like, I'm sick of pottery. I'm sick of just working all the time. And so when my lease was up on the co-op, I said, let it all go, give it to someone else. I even left my bisque where I was like, I don't care, do whatever. I just want out of doing this. And I decided that I would, and this was in 2008, I decided that I would start a blog. And I decided to start a blog in 2008, and it was called Dirty Footprint Studio because that was the name of my pottery studio. And I wrote about being a teacher, being an artist, and I went back to like putting my focus in painting and sharing that. And I remember the one summer between 2008 and 2009, that summer of 2008, I got my first video camera and I made all these funny videos on YouTube to just learn how to use the video camera and all that. And people started asking, do you teach? Like, would you teach adults? And so in 2009, I actually put together my first workshop, and it was in Cleveland, Ohio. And my dear friend, Andrea, who's one of my closest friends, who's a ceramicist, it was her, me, and another woman named Christine Claire Reed. And we did 3 things. I did painting, Andrea did ceramics, and Christine did writing. And it was called Creative Dig. And everybody came and, some creative digging. And I couldn't believe it. I just advertised. I didn't even advertise. I just said, hey, I'm going to do this. It's in Cleveland. It was at my friend's. And actually, I just wanted it to get money to go back to Cleveland and visit my, I just thought, a couple people will come and I'll have air flight. it ended up being really fun. And I couldn't believe people came from Canada, Mexico, all over the US. And I was like, whoa. So it really kind of excited me, and it wasn't even like a possibility back then. And at that same time, I don't know if you remember back then, but there were a lot of these huge not Art Unravel. Tisha Moore had a beautiful art conference in Washington, and like Art Unravel here, these large conferences of artists started happening. And I remember people online being like, oh, I want to go, but I can't. And at that time, people were also asking if I ever, how else could I teach? And I made my very first online class in 2008 or 2009, one of those, maybe it was 2009. And it was called Art Journal Love Letters. And I used a Blogger. You remember Blogger?
Yeah.
Like I made it up. I didn't know what I was doing. And I charged $20. And like, that was so new. Nobody had, and I remember like, it was such a fun thing to do. And I was still working as an elementary middle school art teacher. And then that same time I put out, when I saw these people wanting to go to those conferences, I was like, I bet there's a way we could figure out how to do that online. And then I created what was called 21 Secrets.
That's how I found you.
Yeah. And I just asked a bunch of artists well, actually, to be honest with you, I wanted to advertise Art Journal Love Letters. So for one whole month, I interviewed 30 different Art Journal artists, and I asked them like 5 questions or something. It was like a written interview, and I called it 30 Journals, 30 Days. And so what happened when I started thinking about it, I'm like, I bet I could figure out a way to make like a little website. And they had something called Ning. And I was like, I bet I could figure it out. So I asked all 30 of those artists. I told them, I said, I have this idea. People can't come. There's lots of people that can't come to these big conferences. What if we made one online? And all I'm going to ask is that you share one art journal secret. I'm like, and I'm not going to charge, and I'll give you this amount of money. And I said, and 20 people said yes. Out of 30, 20 people said yes. And I included myself. So it became 21 Secrets. That's how it was. It just was by accident,
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know nothing.
You followed your intuition.
I actually followed my intuition, and I thought, people want to go to this. There's got to be a way to do it. This sounds like fun. Like, to me, it just sounded like a fun thing to do. And on that very, I couldn't believe it. So many people signed up. It was ridiculous. And I was, at the same time, I didn't want to work in a public school. And so that same year that happened, I also was teaching my first Fearless Painting online classes, and they were called Big, Deep, and Thrive. And they were like a series. And I had this beautiful community of artists that would take those Fearless Painting courses with me. Yeah. And that was separate to 21 Secrets. And I loved those women. And we didn't even have Zoom or anything back then. We would meet on a conference call. We would meet on these conference calls and talk, and we were all over the world. And the one day, Kismet, I said, listen, everyone, I am going to have a retreat in Sedona, and it's going to be on these days. And I'll be putting it on sale soon. And then I went to Sedona to find a place. I was like, I had no idea what I was doing, right? And I went, and I had to look and go all these different places. And long story short, I found a place, and I put it on sale. And I had my first Paint Fearless Sedona retreat in 2009, 2010.
Yeah.
And Lauren, who's in the mentorship, she was there. And the interesting thing, they changed owners of the Creative Life Center, and they astronomically raised their prices, where I'm like, this is ridiculous. And so this last retreat was the last one I hosted there. I'm going to still, I found another place, but
very cool.
Thank goodness. But I was like, wow, this has been, and when I left, I didn't feel very mushy about it until it came time to leave, because I remembered that 2009 Connie who stood there, and I said, I'm going to do this. And I had my husband and I only had $800 to our name in savings. And I took that whole 800 and I put it down as the deposit. And I said, this is going to be fun, and I want to
I'm getting
bring these women
chills. I'm
together.
getting chills.
Yeah, yeah, and it's,
Is it-
that's kind of what it's been like ever since, just like, and I just met really amazing, and I learned the thing that was really, I think I've always kind of been a teacher, but I taught in all many different ways. And it wasn't until I finally started to create these retreats and things online that I learned more about being a teacher and really define what is important to me. And I realized I didn't fit in the envelope. I didn't fit it. I taught at the art museum for 8 years. I taught in public schools for 5. And I was like, I don't fit in these systems. And that was the hardest part. Like, you can love something, but you don't fit.
Don't fit.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't until I started online that somehow just being able to be me fully without anybody telling me to fill this paperwork out or make sure this and that, like my life felt like it, my career and my life started to flow differently.
Really flow. Yeah, I mean, Connie, you're just, your story is incredible because it feels really authentic. You didn't jump on a bandwagon on anybody else's coattails. You followed your own guidance, your own intuition, and you really, you're
That's-
you're a rebel, you know.
Yeah, you can call my mom, she'll tell you that. But like, I think a lot of it too, like that's been my protocol my entire career, I think, in life. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's what I mean to answer Lauren again. That's what I
Mhm.
encourage of my artists to
Mhm.
follow that. And, and it's not like I can tell you times where things didn't work out correctly, but to me, instead of accepting it as a failure, I'm like, okay, pivot. Where we go next? Like, that's not working for whatever reasons. I can't sit here and figure that out. What's calling me next, and get clear and listen. And so I think that's been part of my strategy around that, like.
Yeah, yeah. It's really also fascinating. So I have a question for you. What one famous artist would you love to sit down and have a conversation with today?
Alive or dead or what?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Well, there's like so many that pop into my heart immediately. So they're all dead. The dead ones, I have live ones too. Of the dead ones, we'll invite them first. How about that? The first ones that came into my head was Agnes Pelton and Agnes Martin. So Agnes Pelton is like the contemporary of Georgia O'Keeffe, and she did these incredible paintings that had like a really mystical connection to them. And she's just recently, in the last 5 or 6 years, kind of gotten notoriety, even though she died a long time ago. Agnes Martin has been an artist I've loved for a long time. She was a minimalist, but she called herself an abstract expressionist, even though she's super minimalist. And I saw her work when I was in my 20s, and it impacted me so much because it's so different than what I do. But I went into these galleries and I could feel, I was like, I feel something different in the presence of her work. And that really spoke to me. When I saw Agnes Pelton's work for the first time, it was a few years ago, right before COVID. They had a huge show at the Phoenix Art Museum. And this is the thing that moved me, is there was a piece, I couldn't stop looking at it. And I kept going back to the museum to see it and stand in front of it. And I loved it and I loved it. And I was just like, why do I love this painting so much? And they had this, I'm not a curator, a scholar on her give a big lecture. And I signed up, I went to this lecture, and it was really interesting. And then she showed that painting. And she's like, that was the last painting Agnes Pelton made. And I was like, oh, that's that. Like, that moved me. I was like, that's why I couldn't stop looking at it,
Do you remember the name of it?
I don't remember. I could tell you what it looked like if I saw it. I can find.
I'm looking, I went to see if I could pull it up.
And yeah, so like, I really love artists whose work moved me. I also I thought, the 4 that came to mind were Agnes Pelton, Agnes Martin, Picasso. There's a Picasso painting that moved me deeply. I shared that in our mentorship group.
Yeah.
And then I really love Francisco Toledo. he passed away in 2019. He was a very renowned artist in Mexico, but especially Oaxaca. And you go to Oaxaca and his influence is everywhere. And I really admire that he used his art to support the community and do it in ways that heightened art and made, you know, art accessible for people. And I think I really admire that about him. And I love Oaxaca, so I love that connection.
What's the one thing you love about Oaxaca? I can never say that.
Oh, you know what? My mom always calls it Oaxaca. And so when
Oaxaca.
there's like two kind of areas like split by the city. And I'm always like, I go to Oaxaca and you ladies are in Oaxaca. Like, so I think it's fun. What was your question again? Sorry, love.
What's the one aspect of Oaxaca that really, like, when you think of it, sparks your soul, like lights you up?
You know, I can one of the best ways to sum it up is the first time I never knew anything about, never had any desire really to go there. And my friend invited me to come host a retreat at her center. And anyways, that was the first time. And when I got out and I walked around, I was like, I am walking inside one of my paintings.
Oh, very cool.
It had my bright colors and it had grittiness to it. And it had this life to it that I was like, this is like being in my painting. So that's what I love. And I love so much of the people that I love there. I have such a beautiful team of artists that I work with there, and the culture and the traditions, I'm just really respect and love them, you know. So, and the food, I can go on, but you said one, so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. We'll have to bring you on. You'll have to go to the next ones. We're coming down to our last question, and or our time for maybe one more question. Lauren, I didn't want to exclude you because I have 1,000 questions.
I know.
To ask
There's so much to ask, and you seem so prolific with your art, and I'm just wondering, do you ever get an artist block? And if so, like, how do you overcome that?
That, you know, so I don't believe, there's two sides to this story, I should say. I don't really believe in artist block. I really believe like that our creativity goes into like integration and dormancy, and that we slow down. And I think a lot of times that happens to people and they think it's a block, but really you're just integrating, or it's a slower part of your cycle. But with that said, I've been thinking about that. And if I have to write something, so for example, like I had to just write like those Paint Wisdom cards, there's 52 of them. It took me a few months to write them. And I would have an artist block with those cards. So when it comes to writing, when it comes to just making creative painting work, I don't feel that type of artist block. But when it came to writing, I experienced, I think, what most people consider artist block. And I would literally come to the page and I'd be like, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to say. And I would just freeze. And so that happens a lot. And I've written chapters for people's books, and the same thing would happen. I'd kind of freeze. And so I think that's the artist block. And because I feel more comfortable and natural in a visual art. I think I didn't experience it, but when it came to writing, and what I found for me personally is I had to set a schedule and a discipline to it. Like I had to be like, okay, Connie, you are going to go every morning and write a card. If you like it or not, you're just going to write it, even if you don't use that card. I had to force myself to like just do it. And I couldn't leave my seat until I did at least one. And so it was like showing up and being a little tough love on myself was helping me get past it, was one thing. And then I also have really supportive people, like when I wrote the cards, or even when I had to write the introduction to my little Painting the Feminine book, it's like 3 pages. I was so stuck. And then I had this wonderful editor who helped me with that, and we'd have these long discussions, and that was helpful. And I talked about it in front of my students and they gave ideas, and I just had to work through it, but I had to be active. I had to do something to move the energy. But I don't know if that answers your question. That was like the thing I realized when it comes to writing, I'll freeze. And I think it's just because, but I can write like newsletters or blog posts, like that kind of writing I can write naturally. But when I'm like, oh, it's going to be in a book, like, oh God, I get all frozen. So I give a lot of credit to people like you, Kisma, who can just write a gazillion books, because it's a really hard thing to do, I found. Yeah, so for me, I think the best way for artist block is to just be active, have some support, make it a little discipline out of it, like
Show up.
You
show
are
up.
inspirational.
If I just thought about it, I would have never done it. I could have made more. I was more creative to make excuses when it shouldn't happen. And I think also, if I can be honest, like when I really boil it down, it's about love. Like I made those cards because I can envision my students who I wanted them to have. Like I can envision them being in their studio and needed a little Connie something, and then they had it. So that also was very motivating for me, having something I love pushing me forward. I don't think I could do any of it if I didn't have my students. I don't think I would do stuff like that if I didn't have people I cared about on the other side that I want to see feel more free or open in their practice. So I think maybe that's it. More than anything, is just the love is the motivator.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
And you are a motivator, that's for sure. And Connie, it has been such a pleasure, really, and an honor to be able to have you here on an Art Talk. And before we say goodbye to you today, I just want to let you know that I'm sincerely apologetic of this technical difficulties, and I'm going to have you back. Sure. And at a near future time, so that we can play. And since I've recorded this, once I check the Twitch rerun and all of that good stuff, I will, if the Twitch rerun was just bogged down and glitchy, I will, because I've made a recording of us, I will take this rerun and I will put it onto the live stream webpage at visionaryartistpath.com and provide you with that link so that everyone can come and watch at least this episode that we did together. Yeah. And I think it's what you do is wonderful. And I am so happy my path led me to your path, because I consider you to be authentic. You're an authentic artist, and you, in that sense, I want to write your or your biography.
Oh, okay. That will take away my creative blocks from doing it. So go for it.
I'll be the ghostwriter, but
it showered me with so much love. I didn't expect to be just drenched in all this love. And thank you to you, Lauren, for your wonderful questions, and to your community for giving me the space to share my story. I just appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Yeah, so interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you, Kisma. I love you dearly.
I love you too. All right, viewers, as we wind down to the end of our hour together, I'm going to let you know that we have some guests lined up for July and August already. Lauren, did you want to mention anything about our July 6th guest?
Sure, we have Kristen Tweedale coming from the Awesome Ladies Project. And she's a feminist scrapbooker. So I'm looking forward to hearing what she has to say and her point of view on making art.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. And scrapbooking, I love scrapbooking. So I'm really interested in what she shares with us also. And then on August 3rd, we have Kat Geller, who is the founder of the Cosmic Smashbooking Phenomenon. And so those two special guest artists are up ahead of us. And of course, we want to thank you for tuning in today and bearing with us and reading through the technology glitches. So without
Didn't-
further ado, until we see you next month, have a great month. And don't forget also here on Twitch, there are weekly events that I host, such as the Art Jam and other little spontaneous art things that arise. But thank you. And thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Kisma. It's been a pleasure as always, working with you and talking about art and all those lovely things. And I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. All right. Bye, Twitchers.
Bye, everyone.